The latest installment of WWE's main series is here once again. After the fallout of WWE 2K20, 2K Sports took it upon themselves to reinvent the series and bring a new coat of paint to the tired and exhausted game engine. They promised a new game engine, and WWE 2K22 is very different to the previous games. That game had a distinctive vibe about it that I don't think the next games could match. It's the 2-year wait along with the highly anticipated changes to the engine. WWE 2K22 shaped up the next game, and they were all slightly better than the last one. The WWE 2K24 was a massive success for WWE and 2K Sports financially, but for as many changes and inclusions that they added to the game, it still felt like something was missing to truly push the games to the very top. 24 had some fun stuff too, but once I let go of the game, I didn't care much for it. And the issue is that the game is full of content. They update the MyFaction scam, of course, but there's plenty of things to do, and it gets to the point where I actually believe that it's because we're older. But the games are better than the last. Not by much, but if you go from 2K22 to 2K25, it will definitely be felt. I don't consider myself much of a gamer, I'm very casual, so it's not like I'm hooked on many games. There's a lot of games out there for you to play, but personally, I find it hard to immerse myself into said game. But with the wrestling games, I get caught like a crackhead in the 70s, but the moment I let go a little, I don't even think of the game. 2K25 didn't have much hype to it. I think 24's had way more attention compared to this year's game, but of course 2K worked in silence. It's never a good thing to see 2K working in silence, but this game is the exception. There was flashbacks to 2K20 because since then, they were mostly transparent, but that wasn't the case here. I wanted to do this around WrestleMania time, but just didn't feel like it, and nobody even asked for it. In addition, I wanted to wait for the patches to give a much fairer assessment of the game. If I do one on 2K26, it just might be out within the month of release. As always, the gameplay is the most important facet of a game. If the gameplay flops, the whole thing falls down. 2K20 is an example of that. The game had a lot of good in it, but the gameplay ruins everything about it. 2K22's engine is still featured in the games, but with some slight tuning to it. The wrestlers' fighting stance has been toned down a bit. They're still in the game, but not as obvious and strong as previously. It's a very unnecessary inclusion because this is a wrestling game, not Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. It didn't need to be in the game. The matches include lockups and whatever you see in the beginning of a match. It's pretty detailed for its return. Chain wrestling is always welcomed by me because 2K's goal is to match a real match. And even if it was an arcadey game, I still would want that in there, because plenty of matches started with some intense chain wrestling or collar and elbows. The action itself is much smoother than the previous ones, and it amazed me a bit because 2K24 was silky as hell and one of the smoothest games I've ever played. There's some great excitement from me hitting a power slam as Randy Orton, and the sequences are very enjoyable and engaging at times. Sometimes the AI knows what the hell they're doing, and the tougher the AI is, the better the matches. I personally tweaked the AI a bit and the matches feel longer and more challenging. Like this match here, I can't even describe how many minutes it took me to actually win this elimination match. I believe it was like 40 minutes, all because I messed with the AI a bit. It was crazy. Like these guys were kicking out of 6-7 finishers. It was outrageous stuff. It was a bit OD. I wouldn't even say a bit because I was frustrated by the end, but it was certainly an enjoyable match to play despite the annoyance of having the AI kick out of everything. I still wish 2K made the AI harder by default, but we can only hope. The fact that they added those details with the AI tuning in 2K24 was great. They also added some smaller things such as superstar downtime, and for as much as I lose interest in these games, it gives me a lot of hope that 2K26 or 2K27 will be the ultimate game in terms of the actual gameplay, although that's probably false hope. I don't think this engine has reached its final form at all. The button combo thing is still in the game. It still feels a bit too easy to reverse to the point where I started turning it off for a real challenge. Stamina is much better with the final stretch of the match feeling like hell. Giants feel more menacing in the early parts of the match. Like here, I was struggling with knocking down The Undertaker, Kevin Nash, Kane. It's tough. I didn't seem to notice this with the previous games, so it probably was a new inclusion. The in-ring gameplay is still very familiar with slight tweaks that work for the game. I hope there's some pizzazz with it in future titles because they have a good base. It just needs that additional element to push it higher. For one, there still needs to be an initiation to hit the move you want. Like the Irish Whip should just have a single button to it in future titles because they have a good base. I get it for something like a suplex where they grab them, but it doesn't need to be initiated for every move. Like why do we got a double tap circle? And it's not that much of a big deal for me personally, but it would be better if it was like how it was in the older games. For one, we need quick grapples back. Other than that, the core gameplay is mostly the same as 2K24. There are small additions such as blood for the woman and the bruises actually show up for wrestlers. The cuts are cool. They had me thinking I was actually beating up on some of these guys, like this match over here. The multi-man matches are pretty challenging. It's a bit annoying though because when they store up the finishers, they just destroy you, and with the pinfall system, it's almost impossible to kick out. The submission system is the one from 2K16 and 2K20, which is a good one. I actually enjoy that one more compared to the previous one. That one is still in the game, but it's used more for MyFaction. You could still use it as an alternate option if you want. That one is hell in ambulance matches. I just want to say, you you can barely pull something out, and it's so unfairly beneficial to the AI. And this was an issue from 2K24 still prevalent in the game. Nowadays, you can climb barricades. Ladder match mini game is tweaked. Grabbing system, I called it here. I don't know, that sounds stupid. The minigame is a bit different. It was one of the most frustrating experiences in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. It's almost as hard as having Tamina of all people win the thing in real life. Intergender matches are finally back. We haven't seen this since SVR 2009. They're letting go of the restriction and making the game more free. Special referees looser, but as of recently, it's turned into a broken mess. And that's something I've noticed recently. First of all, you can't use a special referee in a custom arena. And second, I've seen more bugs after launch than I've ever seen for a WWE game. It's not as messy as 2K20, but every day with every new patch, I hear something is glitchy. Underground is a new big match inclusion in 2K25. Now, I have a lot of fun with this. You could do some sort of shoot, fight, in universe mode, and it brings a different realm to matches. They also made it interactive, you know, like tackling off the barricade. You could throw them into the post and then get sent flying. It's just awesome. The tackling off the apron is just awesome. It's one of my most played matches in the entire game. You can get some random bots on the side cheering on while you beat the life out of your opponent. It's an easy match to book in universe mode when you want to end a feud. My hope is that they allow for you to include actual wrestlers on the outside. That would do a lot for me. I wish the games realized they were games, like an underground fight on top of a high-rise building, or a blood sport tournament, or some sort of King of the Ring tournament in a mansion or something. Like, why can't we have this kind of stuff? But the best match inclusion is the Bloodline rules. This is chaotic in a way that reminds you of the old games. Bloodline rules is no disqualification. Both guys have 3 men that run in every few minutes, and it's such a hilarious match, especially if said wrestler doesn't have any allies. Like, why the hell am I seeing X-Pac and Bruno Sammartino coming out to save Cody Rhodes? They come out 3v1, you call for backup, and the action is all over the place. Backstage brawls have improved, brought more interactive areas. I still think that this is a match type that needs more to it. I don't think they've even scratched the surface in this match type. Overall, WWE 2K25's gameplay is still very familiar. There's not anything majorly different with the gameplay itself, but these inclusions are very welcoming. I still think the gameplay itself could be more challenging and offer variety. If you're wondering what kind of variety I'm talking about, well, I hope to see more adrenaline moments, like a momentum shift of sorts. Like, the AI does activate their payback and hit a finisher, but I wish there was more of a lead up to that in a situation where you realize that the match is changing in front of you. I still think they could get more out of the gameplay. It can mix realism and arcade, and they seem to understand that in the no DQ and multi-man matches, so maybe that will follow through to the actual gameplay. Overall, it is better than 2K24, no doubt about it. One small thing that I really love is the camera angles. Playing in third person unlocks another dimension to the game. It's super fun in the multi-man matches, and the camera thing altogether from last year is one of the best small features in a WWE game. The fact that it looks like Here Comes the Pain, you can see the stage, all that, incredible. I think AEW Fight Forever inspired them to bring it back, and it's stuff like this that I wish 2K implemented, because you could add all the realism, but just also add things that are in video games. Okay, graphics. 2K22's graphics remain imprinted with WWE 2K25. They are slightly different, feature minor improvements, but the complaints that fans have about the hair and how stiff certain things are remain. That's always going to be tough to tackle. I still think that when the PS6 comes out and GTA 6 is still in development, that 2K will have issues with these movements. I don't see it being solved and seems very complicated, otherwise it would have been a thing of the past. I'm not a programmer, I don't know anything about that stuff. My IQ points dropped 10 points when I tried to program a single line of code, so I'm just saying, they know better than us. But there's not much to say about the graphics. It seems like they added a filter to make it seem like there's major changes. A lot of the wrestlers don't look as good as they did in 2K24. That damn light filters in NBA 2K25 too. They always try to cut corners to make it seem like there's major changes. Like, this image of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a constant with 2K Sports. Same here with the WWE games, although some of the characters look hideous. Cody Rhodes looks pretty bad. Sheamus. Other than that, they got the big wrestlers down great as usual. Lita, and this is a bit of 2K24. Lita went from one of the worst models to one of the best, which is nice. 2K24 changed everything for her. She always had a bad representation in the games and was weirdly misshaped. Overall, graphics don't change the game, nor are they a huge deal, because you could only push so far. I remember the jump from PS3 to PS4 was huge and out of this world. PS4 to PS5 doesn't feel huge, and honestly, the graphics are the least of my worries. Yeah, it's a PS5 game and it should push to be ambitious, but when you waste more and more memory space on tiny pixels and abandon the rest of the game, it doesn't work well. Just ask TNA Impact. The lighting though to me is great in a bunch of arenas. WrestleMania 9 is perfect, one of the most authentic arenas in the entire game. WrestleMania 31 is captured excellently and has that California vibe. There's not a single weakness with it. I wish WrestleMania 39 was still in the game. It's really an insane arena, and along with WrestleMania 10 and 20, some of the best arenas I've ever seen in a wrestling game, and they probably have them hidden in the files. Possibly. And again, I'm talking nonsense right now. They had these arenas last year, and I'm just like, if only we had them this year. Roster. WWE 2K24's roster boasts a healthy amount of legends and current day stars. It's actually one of the most up-to-date wrestling games ever, and that's often been a complaint from fans. WWE games are more individual compared to Madden, 2K, and FIFA. Those sports titles often have the camera less focused on the players, and they can get away with more, not to mention that WWE wrestlers have to have a lot of detail and attention towards them. With advancements in technology, the gap seems to close in, and 2K is doing a much better job of up-to-date rosters. There's a very strong NXT representation here, which is always nice. It shows that WWE and 2K are willing to invest more and more into the games. This is the most stacked women's roster of all time, and plenty of new additions all around from the brands in the history of wrestling. The Legends roster has plenty of more variety to it and also provides some unique inclusions such as Abyss, the Great Khali, Paul Orndorff, the New Age Outlaws, which is the first time since SmackDown 2 Know Your Role that the entirety of D-Generation X is in a game. Because all the other years they had Billy Gunn, X-Pac, but they didn't have China. But the craziest inclusion is New Jack. Now tell me, why New Jack is in a WWE game? This guy, now I'm not even trying to talk for a dead person, but he probably would have accepted the money and still cursed them out for messing up something of his. They actually played his music, not his real music, throughout the match, which is funny, but it's stunning. I just saw this guy curse out half the roster, the Dudley Boys in particular, in a shoot interview and saying the weirdest, most outrageous stuff on TikTok. This guy in a game? But it's welcoming. ECW actually has some great representation here. They of course need Sabu and a couple of others such as Taz, Shane Douglas, and Raven, but it's not so bad. There's a lot of talent in this game that it's insane. Yeah, there's omissions such as Goldberg, Ric Flair, and others, but this is one of the best rosters you'll ever get. They added Bull Nakano, Abyss, and if it keeps on going like this, I wouldn't be shocked. Well, actually I would, but I think eventually they'll bring TNA versions of their icons such as AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, and some surprises like Shark Boy. They might even expand beyond that and get some insane names like Stan Hansen, Dr. Death, and some other WWF names from the Attitude Era such as Steve Blackman, Crash Holly, Hardcore Holly, and these guys. Like, it's only a matter of time. It feels like these games are bringing in more money, so obviously means more investment in the game. New inclusions to the roster are mostly from NXT. We got Penta, Stephanie Vaquer, Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice. The women's roster is much deeper. Oba Femi, Julia, and even Aleister Black. I actually expect them to add Brock Lesnar in a patch. 2K actually are up to date with the roster. Yeah, there's some dumb inclusions like Pat McAfee's friends last year, some random celebrities, but they really care about the roster. MyFaction, the industry plant of WWE 2K games, the one that is never going away, MyFaction. As you know, my team is one of their big cash cows in NBA series. I play a little bit of both, but I prefer to stick with offline mode. I just can't bring myself to play much of MyFaction. I do like the concept of World Tour because you could actually unlock some cards you wouldn't have had the chance to do, but it's very tedious and time consuming. I remember playing for 4 days straight after launch trying to get the CM Punk 2010 card, and it was tough. It was very tough, and at some points I stare at the wall and think, is this worthwhile? And there's some cool rewards there, but a lot of it involves paying actual money to get somebody you had for free in 2K23, such as 2009 Randy Orton. And when I returned to the game, I discovered that 09 Orton is unattainable since it was a limited time live event. And that's very annoying because if you're a person who tries to 100% a game, they ruin it for you. And it's like, time's running out, I kind of have to spend money to get this Randy Orton card. It's these horrible practices that turn others away from the games. You have a perfectly great model in hiding inside the stupid island or MyFaction. The island, for that matter, is a bigger cash cow. It's not even as good as NBA's one. That's blended with my career, and while a lot of it is a scam, it's a better scam than this one. The island is bland, boring, and clearly rushed. I feel like 2K should have used their resources to focus on the actual game because they had something good going on here. The island is a slop, it's insignificant. If you play it, good for you. I'm just talking from my perspective, I don't like it. Now, when I heard the island was revealed, I like the concept of having a custom character, but the way 2K does, it automatically makes you think, oh, it's a better idea to play universe mode. MyFaction is much better but very time consuming and also doesn't bring the satisfactory level of NBA or FIFA. I almost think it's a terrible idea to have this concept for a wrestling game, but if the stockholders are happy, I'm happy. No, I'm not happy. 2K aren't going to care about what the customer thinks because one way or another, someone is going to spend money. There's going to be some whales, there's going to be some people that blow as much money as possible on these games. And I also seen that there's a strong chance of 2003 and 1998 Kane coming in due to some file updates recently, and that alone is going to bring a lot of people in. I'm almost tempted, but we're not falling for it. I play FIFA's card game way more, and while I'm about as cheap as Julius, I still have a decent team. Why would I do it for a game that I play offline? I don't play the WWE games online. It's annoying. All around, MyFaction is much better this year. There's a lot more variety in the rewards, and it's a bit easier to get said rewards, but a lot of the matches are long. Like, why do I have to face Tony D'Angelo and his faction all the time? I don't know, but that's MyFaction for you. WWE 2K24's soundtrack was a massive disappointment for me. I despise that soundtrack like no other WWE game. It felt so far out of the left field, and after a few days, I just listened to Spotify. Now, Spotify will always be your best friend, of course, but sometimes you'd like to turn off Spotify and listen to the actual soundtrack. Well, I didn't like some of the last 2 years. They grew on me as a collective, so now I like them. And 2K24 didn't offer that with Post Malone. Why am I hearing sad songs in a wrestling game? I'm not trying to cry. I'm trying to play some wrestling, bro. 2K25's soundtrack isn't my favorite, but it's way better than 24's. I thought 23 had a vibe. Bullet for My Valentine, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, Quevedo, and Bizarrap. They offered variety. There was certainly variety with 25, in a much looser way. We had Eminem, Denzel Curry, Mexican OT, Suicide Boys, J Balvin, Jelly Roll, Poppy. There's a lot of different things here. My favorite song is Ratata by Baby Metal and Electric Callboy. I know everyone has issues with the soundtrack, but they're never gonna satisfy everyone. And I also don't think we should go back to the SVR 2007 soundtrack every day. Like, it's nice hearing Let's Start a Riot by 3 Days Grace, but do I really need to listen to that again for 7 days a week? Every day? I actually respect that song a little to not listen to it every day. It's that damn good. I don't have a dream soundtrack with these games because it shows me music I don't usually listen to, you know? So it's like, if you make me the spokesperson for the next 2K game, you're not gonna like the soundtrack. I'm just saying straight up. WWE's games have showed me songs from Slipknot, Bring Me the Horizon, Yeet, Poppy, and while I'm familiar with these artists and bands by name, I might only know their really famous songs. So I could thank 2K for that. 2K26, if I had to guess, gonna include a Linkin Park song from their latest album, like Heavy as a Crowd, Song 3 by Baby Metal and Slaughter to Prevail, and on the hip-hop side, something like At My Purest by Gunna and Offset. New Way Out by Poppy was used for Elimination Chamber and is one of her biggest singles recently, so I think that has a chance of being in. But regardless, the soundtrack's always grown me, barring 2K24. 22 had that West Coast skater vibe. 23 was all around and showed more international as opposed to previous years. We could say fuck 24, that's the one of the worst soundtracks in history. Never ever let Post Malone tell me what to listen to. And 25 followed that method that 2K23 did, often the heart of a WWE game, the creation suite. Honestly, there's not much of a difference this year. You can auto-save, which is great seeing as this game is very buggy than it was in the past, which is saying something. I noticed there's new body types, but I dislike the concept because why can't we just move the weight ourselves? 2K25 is minimal in these changes, which is disappointing because the creation suite is basically one of the most important parts of the game. I think the creation suite needs an overhaul. It needs to be more than it is. In addition, the creations are not cross-platform as they used to. This alone is a huge difference that hurts the game. You can't scroll by new in the community creations area, and instead of hiding the naked women's wrestlers or some insane creations, they took the new option out altogether. I still think the community as a whole is cool. These guys bring a lot of detail to wrestlers and spend time making these arenas for the players. I really respect it. But these guys do so much to improve the quality of the games, and if there's ever a story designer return, I know they'll go all out to give compelling stories and characters. Ultimately, the creation suite is disappointing. I don't know if they're terrified of bringing in new bugs to the game, but it remained mostly unchanged this year. I wish they gave the wrestlers actual hair options, like styles that said wrestler wore in the past. MyGM has some slight improvements to it. Not as impactful as 2K24, of course, because it's all about tinkering. Now it's just following the formula with some small things, such as the inclusion of ECW. There's a stronger focus on brand supremacy with the pay-per-views being cross-branded. You have to compete for power cards on those shows, so it gives it more importance. There's online MyGM this time around, which is something that adds more depth to the game mode. The mode in general seems more smarter and forces you to actually make tough decisions. Universe mode, a personal favorite of mine. This is one of those things that I always believe has potential to be much more than it is. Ever since Universe mode featured in SVR 2011, it's always the game mode that caught my eye. The recent years I've saw some small additions, but here though, they finally brought back promos. The problem though with promos is that they feel so shallow and dull. It's almost like they're dangling story designer over our heads. And there's a part of me that believes that this year was about laying out the code and expand on it to give us something close to story designer, because Universe mode is the best that it's been in years. And it's all down to simple changes to make the experience more enjoyable. You could do multiple shows on one night, 2 night shows, and I do think that the shows that the AI book need more variety and logic to them, or they could keep it because it's the craziness of WWE 12, but add some sort of logic meter we can use. It's a simple update. I'm not gonna show for it hard because there's still glitches in the promo thing. It's pretty young, but they got a good base with it. I think they'll expand like crazy next year with it, but it's still glitchy. And for a moment, I just want to focus on the glitches. It's not 2K20, but man, there's a lot of them in this game, and it seems like with every patch comes a new one. I've had the game crash on me 3 times in a day trying to choose which match I want. There used to be a tag team glitch in World Tour where you'd control both teammates, which was one of the most annoying things. I've seen some stuff involve custom arenas, a countdown glitch in universe mode where you wrestle a damn TLC match and the ref is counting. Tell me, why is that happening? The saves sometimes delete, and personally, I didn't experience many glitches, but I see others do. The online servers still suck. Upon launch, it was horrible. Still is for downloading community creations at times. It randomly disconnects. I hate online in general. The WWE games are never favorites for me online. I only play FIFA, and even that's cheesy and annoying. Same here. The return of MyRise, the story mode for the WWE games. I'm never too high on this game mode, but as time goes on, I eventually play it. This year's MyRise is heavily focused on an invasion story consisting of previous NXT talent looking to take over the WWE and fix the issues that came with being NXT alumni. This version is for both men and women as opposed to being separate. One thing you could do is play as certain wrestlers in certain chapters, and the unlockables are collected over the span of 4 playthroughs. Now, MyRise is pretty long and time consuming, but there's some stuff to enjoy there. But it mostly feels like a shortcutted MyRise to like put it in the game. If you're wondering why I'm saying that, it's just simply down to the fact that this invasion storyline dominates the whole entire story of the MyRise. There's not a lot of importance to the World Championships. Later in the game, on the women's side, you have a very underwhelming ending that doesn't present that big finale that the season modes usually have. Even in the 2K ones, there is that big finale. Here, it didn't feel like it. Just felt like a bleh. I was actually confused when I got the trophy and it says story complete, because it felt so underwhelming and it felt like the beginning of the story as opposed to the end. And it might have just been a shortcut because they're so focused on the island, or it could have just been a scenario where they just thought this was a good story. Either way, I personally think they missed the boat on this, because for as big as the storyline was presented, it didn't end in a big way, especially on the women's side. And the world titles, they weren't as important as they used to be in the season modes. Like, I remember back then, you used to challenge for the world championship at WrestleMania, even in the 2K games. Here, there wasn't any of that. I hope to see more branching storylines in the next year, because this, as it is, it feels like it was just a way to drag the playthroughs for you to unlock the stuff as opposed to enjoying the story. So there's that. Something about the dialogue just makes me hate the created wrestler. 2K Showcase mode brings a glimpse into the past and allows for you to unlock unique characters and arenas. I still feel the mode isn't used to its full potential, but if it means that John Cena has 32 matches instead of a proper improvement all around to the game, then they could keep it. This year's the Samoans. It's a unique concept because there's plenty of characters we never seen in a WWE game. Rocky Maivia, the Wild Samoans, the Head Shrinkers, 3-minute warning. A lot of these unlockables are cool and different. 3-minute warning in a WWE game is incredible. The WrestleMania 9 arena, Thursday Raw Thursday, No Mercy 2000, New Year's Revolution 2007. I wish there's a linear story or era in Showcase because the rewards are scattered, but this is still good. It's unique, it's different. It allows for them to continuously glaze the bloodline as the biggest story of the last 5 years, which it is obviously, but at the same time do something different. Now, if I was running the 2K Showcase, I'd do something like a WWE 20 years ago thing where they could just go back to 2006. The Showcase was a breeze because I turned the difficulty down. It was so hard at first. The Money in the Bank 2017 match was a common complaint from players, and I know exactly why. There's too many competitors and they all just jump you before you even touch the briefcase. Slingshot technology is no longer prevalent in the game, and I can't say I miss it, because why can't we just skip over important parts of a match? I do wish the match selection had more to it. The Rock having one of his world title victories in here, Roman Reigns and Undertaker, so you can get the WrestleMania 33 arena again. Not a bad showcase at all. If anything, it did its job in bringing us unique things, and one can hope that next year unlocks some random things. I need surprises like 3-minute warning. I'm guessing that next year is the 30 years of the Rock showcase. That's my guess. Triple H, Randy Orton, and Shawn Michaels are great shouts as well. Or if they're feeling something else, and this one may or may not happen because Ric Flair isn't exactly signed to a contract with WWE, the evolution of evolution, and it could be a 2-in-1 thing with the faction and the careers of all 4 men. Best of all is a recreate mode that has logic behind it, like Goldberg and Undertaker facing off at WrestleMania 19 or 20, John Cena against AJ Styles at SummerSlam 2010, The Rock and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22, something that fits within said time period. It gives you the arena, the attires from that era, stuff like that. I think that's a good idea for 2K to do in the future because it won't force them to be pigeonholed or cancel an entire showcase because of it. But yeah, Showcase was solid. I always wish for more unlockables from them, but they obviously focus on different things in the game, so obviously you can't do that. So yeah. Alright, overall, WWE 2K25 is not a special game at all. If you like the familiarity of previous games with new elements but way more glitches, then this is the game for you. It's one of those where you have to make your fun, and that includes bringing in created wrestlers and arenas. It's hard to stay on this game year round because online doesn't have any value. Showcase is a one and done thing, and there's numerous improvements in the game, but when the novelty dies, it's very likely that your interest in playing the game does as well. I had fun with it the last 3 weeks, but that's because I haven't played the game in 4 months and used it in a different way. I involved different eras of wrestling, And again, it's better than 22, 23, and 24, but I'm almost certain you had more fun with those games during their cycle than this one, especially 22. And one thing that 2K has to address is how to keep people playing these games. I think the difficulty needs to be much harder for one, and I like the gameplay, but it's a bad feeling to download created wrestlers but lose the interest in playing the actual game. If I did this review in March, I would be over the moon with this game, but in August, it's like a fresh coat of paint over the same game. I believe it's that island they focused on so much that made this game the way it is, but yeah. 2K25 is a good game in itself, but because it shares the same identity as the previous ones, you're less likely to like it as much. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. If I did this review in March, I probably would have been like 8.5 or something crazy like that. Glad I didn't, because you gotta look at the games in hindsight, you gotta look at it in the moment as well, and you gotta see things from a fair point of view to understand whether or not it's a good game. It's a good game, but ultimately, I think it needs a little more, and who knows, maybe these small improvements this year will lead to 2K26 or 27 being great, but only time will tell, so yeah. Alright, what do you guys think of WWE 2K25? Please comment down below, and that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the tombstone pile driver on the like button, perhaps the spear on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.